when I'm working on a case and someone leaves a message and it seems important, but it's so early in the case, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But then it dawns on me much later when I'm deep in the case, and it's like the epiphany of what the clue was. It's almost as if the people that do this are not, like, I never see their name again. They never come back on the channel that I know of. But early on, I was given a comment, if you will, left behind on the Sebastian Rogers case, which we're covering tonight. And they said, sleeping with the enemy, one light out. And I'm like, what? And I couldn't quite figure it out. It like stuck with me. But tonight, we're going to walk a theory, and that's all it is. And there are many different theories. But this theory is based on what I personally know to be true, but doesn't mean it is, right? It's just what I think is true at this time with what I have learned. And I'm going to try to put the pieces together in a certain way that it makes sense. Like everything we know should click into place. But you can be the judge of that. Welcome to 1111 True Crime, everybody's favorite voice on the YouTube streets. Hello, my beautifuls. How is everybody? We have a full house tonight, and I want to welcome all of you that are on the live chat as well as replay. Keep in mind, I want to throw out a shout out. Those that do the replay are what feed the algorithm, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for any type of replay or any support to the channel. I want to thank those on the live, especially my absolutely amazing 1111 family and my beautiful, absolutely stupid, absolutely amazing mods, because you guys really bring in a wonderful attitude to everybody. Now, if you are on replay, remember you have a button. It's called fast forward. Use it as needed. You are in control of your buttons. Tonight we're going to be talking about this very handsome young feller named Sebastian Rogers, 15 years old. He has a form of autism, higher spectrum, and a few other minor difficulties that he faces. One of them being he is absolutely missing. Like gone, poof, nobody knows where this child is. He's missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee. He went missing, was reported missing. I'm going to leave it that way, on February 26th of this year, 2024. It's absolutely heartbreaking. There are more than a few of us out there that also have an autistic child. And knowing that, you're a different kind of parent. Let me tell you, you're on your toes. You have to be. And so there are questions. There are a lot of feelings. If you're familiar with the case, you're quite aware that leading up to Sebastian's disappearance, there was quite a lot of movement in the family dynamics that were taking place. So we have to start there. I believe that one of the reasons that one of the PI was focused so much on the months leading up to Sebastian's disappearance, she claimed that she believed that had a lot more to do with it than most knew. So if we're to find this child, I believe we have to kind of walk through, some serious theories. But that's all they are. I have no proof of anything I'm sharing with you tonight. This is my expression creatively of trying to figure out, for the life of me, where is Sebastian Rogers? Where could he be? What could have happened? All right? I'm going to yell out or shout out. I don't want to use the word yell, but shout out at some beautiful faces here. I've got Mr. Ifs, who is also known as Interior Family Studios. Well, Ellie, Ellie Andrews left us a message. She said, I will hit the like and then hit the pillow at 3 a.m. in the UK. Rest assured, I will definitely watch replay. Love your channel. So a shout out to you, lovely Ellie. As is here, Jennifer Swain, my beautifuls. Jenny Troglin, my love, is going through a little bit of a difficult time, and she needs our company tonight. This is her 12-year death anniversary for her husband, who passed away of pancreatic cancer. So give her some love, send her hugs. We're here for you, Jenny, and we adore you, truly. Jenny is our longest member ever of the channel, for real. Hey, Carolyn Miller, Teresa Wood, hello to everybody. I hope you're all doing well tonight. And so I'm going to kind of back away from chat a little bit. That way I can stay focused. Now, originally I intended to go through the work to put this into a video that I could just hit the play button on, but I had appointments today I forgot about. They were appointments that I could not reschedule. And so I just got home a little bit, and this is going to be straight off the cuff, raw material coming out of my brain with what we know. Okay? So bear with me if I have to backtrack or I get something out of order, but I got what I want to say. And with this theory, I really personally lean towards this theory until something can poke a hole in this theory or push me in a different direction. And with this theory, it goes back to, and some of this is going to be hard to listen to, but I've got to break it down the best I can. And it's all based on what I have learned from Sebastian's family. Okay? It's the only place I've learned it from. If they would have never come online, I would not know all this. We know that Katie's past was horrific. And that's all I'm going to say about it. However, I believe that also leaves her very insecure in who she is. And I think intimidation is used by the mother's husband, current husband, which is the stepfather of Sebastian, as well as that family, I believe, intimidates a lot of the decisions. And the reason I brought up her past is because Katie has obviously chosen to separate herself from that world because it wasn't for her, okay? In this scenario, in this theory, right, that leaves Katie with very few options. And I'm not giving any excuses. I'm explaining how, in this theory, that Katie may feel. She may feel that she doesn't have a lot of options if she has intertwined her life into that new marriage with all their, here they are, they're the ones that build the fancy homes and they're the ones that sell the fancy homes. Who's buying the fancy homes? The one with money. So there's a lot of elbow bumping, right, on high society type behavior. And that can be intimidating, especially if you don't come from a place of money. Maybe you come from the other side of the tracks, as they say, right? So we're aware there became some difficulties from the PI between Katie and the stepfather. That there was something in the marriage, and, Chris is going to be shouting all over the internet how, don't even talk about my wife and me and blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. You don't matter. You weren't there. Seriously. You were not there, Chris, remember? So back foot off. But the truth of the matter is, it does matter. Because those are the two people, besides Seth and Grandma Robin, that interact a lot with this child, including the Bowers. We'll just leave it at that, even though they've got more to their name. So these people are my focus. Like, that's who I'm looking at. Just like if I were looking at the Michael Bond case, I would have the mom, I would have the dad, I would have the grandfather and the daughter and whoever else is in that tight circle. So regardless of what is going on, we start seeing a breakdown, if you will, and we also are becoming more and more aware that CPS is being called more frequently than we thought initially. Now, in this, with CPS being called, I want you personally to take the time to begin to look very closely at Sebastian's photographs. And you'll start seeing bruises on this child's neck. I'll say what appears to be bruises, such as it looks like handprint on the neck. I can see what appears to be also bruising across the forehead. Now, if Sebastian is injured in the head because of his chromosome deletion, what we have been taught, or at least as far as I understand, it would be horrific because it could cause his passing. Now, I believe personally that there was physical abuse going on. I truly believe that. I believe that's what Grandma was referring to. I believe that's what CPS has been checking out. We already can tell by Chris's attitude that he's a law setter, the rule setter. Okay? Now, something happens and Chris does not come back to the house, according to Chris, since February, the very first part of February. I believe he said the 2nd or somewhere around there. Why? What has occurred where Chris no longer is coming to the house? Well, as time clicked on, we found out that CPS was in the home or tried to make a visit or something went on with CPS that was a false alarm, if you will, where Chris said Sebastian thought he could make a false report and make me leave the house. But yet Chris did leave the house. So how false was that report? I have to ask. And then I'm thinking about, the fact that we now have the father, Seth, the real biological father, who was the one that raised this baby while Katie was in the Navy, who has bonded with this child, has also made it very clear that through his own ability as a father to get the minors' CPS reports, he now understands what went on in that house. That's all he'll say. So, okay. We've heard rumors of Chris and Katie having this marital spat. We know through Chris that his daughter is not allowed to be around Sebastian, and as long as Sebastian's in the house, she can't come home to him. We also know there are court battles between Nina and Christopher Proudfoot over the daughter, Faith. That's current. That's still happening. All right. Now, this theory is going to not end well, just so you're prepared. Trigger warning. Where's the goat? Okay, so this is a squishy little goat. When I scream it, or when I squeeze it, it's going to scream. So brace yourself if your boss is listening and you don't want them to hear you. If you're trying to sleep, I hope this doesn't wake you. Red flags everywhere. This is going to go down. Deep breath, everybody. Let's go. Premeditated in this scenario. In this hypothesis, this theory. And so the sleeping with the enemy theory is this. You have driven to your house many times. You could probably do it with your lights off at night in your car. However, what if you had to run through a whole bunch of houses at night for the first time ever to get to your house? And you cannot afford to get seen by a camera. Your best bet is to do the same thing that Julia Roberts, the actress, did, and that is mark your destination when everything else is light. The contrast is darkness, and that is to make sure your property has no light. When Nancy Grace asked Katie directly, she said, were there any lights on outside at all on your property? At all? And Katie said, no, ma'am. Well, there were garden lights, the little solar-powered little garden lights. And then Christopher jumped in. Now, he wasn't there. He doesn't know what lights were on. He said, well, the 2 garage lights were on. They're always on. That is a misdirection. That is how you lie. Because, truthfully, those lights are always on, but not that night. Oh, no, they are not on. And that's because that house is purposely dark for several reasons. It's also going to be used so that you cannot see who is driving the car on returning home. I believe Sebastian was told that this was going to be a fun day. However, I believe this was his going away party. And I believe he got to do all the fun things. And this is going to sound absolutely horrible, but I just have to get it out there. And that is, my dog Gretch got to be 14 and some. And we knew it was her last day on earth. It was time we had to put her down. I fed her ice cream. I took her to the park. I made it the day of all days. Now, I am not comparing Sebastian to my dog, though I loved my dog like any human child I've ever owned. I mean, had given birth to. All right? I certainly didn't mean that. I meant like dog owned a dog. But anyway, here nor there. But I'm telling you, it looked like it was a going away party. I believe Sebastian was told that he was going to be spending the night somewhere. To pack an overnight bag was just simply enough clothes to change into tomorrow. Deep breath, y'all. I believe Chris was actually at his mama's. That's where I personally think he is. I think he's at his mommy's. All right? And I think that Chris's mama was meeting them with the aunts. And I think they had a fun day together. And then Katie went to eat with Sebastian alone. And I think waiting in the parking lot, Sebastian was told he was going to spend the night with Chris's mom and dad, in my humble opinion. So he took his little overnight bag of just a change of clothes. And he got in her car, and I think Katie got in that car too, with him, and said, we have to switch cars. And I think Mama Bowersox, and this is just my humble opinion, just a theory, may have driven that car when it got dark, the exact route back to the house. And in the dead of night, with the lights out, she could easily find the house, no matter if she hadn't been there many times or not. She pulled into the garage, and she shut that door, and nobody could see it was her. And I believe the house was dark until the shades were drawn. And I think she clicked lights off and on to make sure people noticed that there was activity in the house. I think she purposely left the lights out when she took the garbage to the curb. I believe cameras and all that were removed from the home prior, because this is all, you know, before, premeditated, if you want to call it. And I believe Mama Bowersox had Katie's phone. And she called Chris, and they had that phone set up between her and Chris for 3 hours, giving Katie a full alibi, putting Sebastian within the home. I believe in the other vehicle, now free and undetected, Katie can be 2 places at once. She can be in a different car with a different license plate with Sebastian. Now, I'm going to let you sort out what you feel you think the demise may have been. Could Seth have been right in his suspicions of Katie, Odine, Sebastian? I don't know. I believe Katie then returned to, let's just say, her husband's family's property, in my humble opinion, in this theory. Yep. And I believe he was transferred out of the car before he passed over. I believe he was made to feel comfortable. And Mama sat with him, maybe played Uno, played games. And then, after the time happened, she collected his clothing and his shoes and his socks and his underwear, so she'd have proof what he wore at that restaurant. I believe she actually drove the car right into the garage at that property, at the husband's property, family's property, into a garage so nobody could see her or Sebastian get out there either. Now, after he passes, I believe that Katie took Sebastian's clothing and got somebody in the family with the license plate removed so it couldn't be detected, dropped her off near that construction site. And that's what people think is a private Uber with no license plate. And that person left. And I believe Katie ran from the construction site with Sebastian's last clothes and his shoes and followed, just like sleeping with the enemy, the blacked out house. That's all she had to get to. All she had to do was stay in the shadows. I believe she went in the back door where nobody could see her. Or whichever door it was, or a window. And I believe they stayed up all night. And when it came time to wake him up for school, she ran around in her car acting crazy and all like he was missing. I think Bowersox, in my humble opinion, may have used Katie's phone to call Chris so that Chris could three-way. And that's why Katie didn't know exactly what happened on that three-way call, right? Told her to get back to the house. She would have known that if she'd been on the phone. She wasn't. She was driving around, in my opinion, trying to make it look like she's searching. I believe she put his shoes right there by the door, handed the clothes to TBI. And there she sits. Now, I believe Chris took care of something important in the afternoon when he claimed he had to move that camper, that RV of his. I believe he was handling something. Precious cargo. I know. I think they studied other cases. And, hey, I'm not very smart, Victoria's Secret love. So no offense, but I don't think Katie and Chris were that smart. I'm not smart and I thought of it. Explain it to me another way. It does sound like a horrifying movie. But face it, the lights are out so you can't see who's driving. The lights are out so that you can keep in the shadows running back to the house. The dogs, in my opinion, tracked all the way to the construction site where Katie was dropped off and ran with Sebastian's clothes in the dead of night to her home, which was blacked out. Nobody saw anything. Ah, Janini Saran says, you're very smart, Mama D. Ruby Slipper says, well, something is definitely up when they say property can't be searched by dogs. So I'm telling you, I believe Sebastian is on their property. Stephanie Howerton, the long goodbye is chilling. I agree, my lovely. Subaru Steve, thank you so much for that snooper chat. You are so kind. You said, I believe a pedo in the neighborhood snatched Sebastian, is keeping him captive in one of those nice $700,000 homes nearby. Would certainly explain a lot. Like I said, everybody's entitled to their theory, and mine's not any better or worse than anybody else's. I just really thought about the entire thing. I have no proof that that kid made it home, and for that to be the one night that all the lights are out, there's a reason. There's an absolute reason. Jason Charan says, I thought the same thing about Katie taking him out and had a great time for the last time because she knew what was planned. Debbie Lemons, there's talk out there that Chris wasn't at work from 8 p.m. to midnight. I don't know what time that would be because he wouldn't have been out to work until 5:30 in the morning. So, I mean, no, he wouldn't have been at work at 8 p.m. till midnight. Not that I know of, because the PI said he started work at 5:30 a.m. on the 26th, that Monday. Hey Jude, how are you doing? You say if he was to pack a bag, why didn't we have shoes? Why didn't he have shoes? So, why would you pack shoes if you have them on your feet? My kids never packed an extra pair of shoes to go to Grandma's house overnight, right? And when Katie returns, she's got the shoes. That's why the dogs in the theory would track directly from the house back to that location. It's just Katie was coming from the pit, the construction site, to the house, in my humble opinion. But you would never pack shoes, I wouldn't think. Just like Gannon Stouch and Maddie Soto, last day, Debbie Lemons. Thank you, lovely. I'm just saying. Carolyn Miller does not feel Sebastian is alive either. I think Chris was there, according to Hey Jude. We have nothing to go on except what Chris tells everyone. I don't believe him, and he would have had plenty of time to get through that crane. Carolyn Miller says, sad, isn't it, that people would go to that extent? So, absolutely. But when you can really do the math, I want you to really take a moment, wherever you are, listening, whether you're in your car, you're at work, you're at home, whatever you're doing. I want you to take a second. Think about what we know and their marriage being on the rocks. There being some ultimatums, perhaps, hypothetically. Sebastian is not a short-term investment child, just like my son. I have to actually make arrangements for his care for when I'm old and I pass over, because he will not, most likely, adult alone. So, if their life is in shambles and the mother has an ultimatum on the table, it's not for short term. It's not like, oh, we can stick it out for a few years. He's going to graduate and move away. This is long term, and it's a long term investment, and it should be. This is your child, your flesh and blood. I'm delighted I had the opportunity to have somebody extremely special in my life that is a joy. Truly. He doesn't have outbursts. He doesn't do any of that because I had to study my child and figure out what things triggered him and learn how to give him coping tools. And that's what our society is missing, is teaching these children the coping skills. You know, there are things like stimming. If you can teach the child how to stim properly, they'll have less outbursts. They are each other's alibis, says Debbie Lemons. Excellent point. Jeannie says, I hate that Mama D is making sense. Susie Akers. But that one woman spoke so rude to Sebastian on that video. Exactly. Exactly, you guys. Oh, Dreamweaver 2's got my theory wrapped up here, adding on to it, saying, yes, remember, allegedly, the trash guys, garbage men saying that the trash was a little heavier than usual. Maybe it was all the cameras that they used, cameras were all in there. You know, the cameras they used to have that they don't have. That Nina talked about cameras in the house, right? Angela Sheets says, I believe he is alive. I believe you'll see a breakup soon and talking finally. I pray you are right, lovely. I do pray. Southern says, I believe even the bio father knows what happened. Well, he passed a polygraph, and unfortunately, his own private answer was put out there, and that is that he truly, one of his theories, not the only one theory is that Katie, the mother, may have possibly OD'd this child. He Jude says, what about the big dent in the garage door? I think it was Chris abusing Sebastian, in my opinion. What if it was, somebody not familiar with that garage that much, actually backed up a little bit too far? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord Shenanigans, you're right. Susan Smith, remember her? Lord, that really rings a familiar bell when I watch the interviews of Sebastian's mama, in my opinion. Tara Mama says, where is the police in all of this? We have heard nothing. Frustrating. Well, we haven't even seen a presser that really gives, according to Seth, the first presser, which I don't remember the first presser. I did watch it, but Seth said there was no big picture of even Sebastian, the missing Amber Alert child. What? You're going to do a news? I've got to get that news presser and check it. Because that blows my mind, and we haven't had one since. Ruby Slippers, anyone who is dealing with a child that is difficult or parenting who are dealing with dementia or other issues, reach out for help. There are many resources out there to help you cope. Thank you, Ruby Slippers. Truth. Truth. Whoa. Jason Charan says, I don't believe that anyone helped. Okay, wait. Okay. I had to make sure I understood what he's saying. I don't believe that anyone helped. It was either Katie or Chris together, one or the other. I am leaning towards Chris. That's why he stood on the phone, or stayed on the phone. So he knew when she was going to sleep. Wow. Huh. That's interesting. Well, you could be right. We don't know. But I think we're all realizing that they didn't search the landfill thinking that they were going to find a living child, which is a hard lump to swallow, right? I'm going to grab a drink real quick, you guys. Susie Akers says, my theory is Sebastian committed suicide. Katie freaked when she found him. The thud was the chair being knocked over. Chris didn't want anyone to know how terrible life was for the child there. Oh my golly. I don't know. Wow. I do find it strange. There's a lot, though, like the lights all being out outside. I could see where that could be used to cover up removing the child. I see what you're saying, Susie. But you just don't know. None of us know yet. It's so frustrating. I just want him home so bad. Emily Vickery says, Jennifer Swain, I agree. He is a disgusting excuse for a human, let alone a male. There's a lot of good males out there. There are good father figures out there. They're hard to find nowadays. That is true, Carolyn Miller. So she's pointing out that there is a window of opportunity for Chris to be there. That's what you're missing. I think Katie took him to Chris at the other property. Oh my MG. OMG, OMG, OMG. Oh, Carolyn Miller, you're right. What if they were in Mississippi in that camper? What if that's where Chris was? Remember, if this theory is right, if that would give them 12 hours, and they're only 3.5 hours away. I can hear it in my head. Sebastian, grab a change of clothes. You're going to get to go stay with Mr. Chris in the RV. Boom! Chris had to go back that afternoon, next day. Had to. Boss said to get that RV moved right now. I don't care if your kid's missing. Get this RV moved. Sorry, y'all. I got to leave all the police. I can't look for my stepson. I can't talk to anybody. I absolutely have to leave here. I have to go back to my RV, which is all the way over there near Memphis. So, in my humble opinion, I'm going to edit. Like I said, it was coming off raw, uncut. I'm going to change the theory. I'm going to say, yeah, either a sister, a brother, a mother, somebody on Chris's family, in my humble opinion, took Katie's car home. That put Katie there with her phone. And I think Katie went and drove Sebastian to Chris. Could explain the scratches and what appears to be, in my humble opinion, bite marks on his arm, because he probably manually took that kid out. If you feel me. I now fully believe, without a shadow in my heart, that if this is the theory, if this is right, I believe Chris pulled a Brian Laundrie on Sebastian. His RV has been looked at by the cops or dogs? Question mark. Wouldn't have to happen in there, y'all. If she took that child to some place where he met up, he could have taken that child out in the woods to do this. He could have pulled the Madeline Soto kind of thing too, taking him out in the woods. Yeah, Ruby Slipper. A lot of people believe And it does appear like in the beginning when Chris was doing interviews, he's got what appears to be scratches or bite marks. He says it came from his little tiny morkies. I don't believe it. Leanne Gladish, welcome to Starlight Seeds. Welcome, lovely. Welcome. Wow. I now have the other half of the story. Thank you, Carolyn Miller. Not allowing people or dogs searching the property around the house was just a ruse to throw people off. Boom! That makes sense, Linda Hall. Thank you, lovely. Between me and you and everybody here, we are going to get this worked out. Janine's ran Mama D, you should be a private detective. Great instincts. I bet you win every game of Clue when you were a kid. I did. That's true. I get told that a lot. That I should be a PI, I should be a detective. And I'm like, I'd rather spend my time trying to figure out these cards. You know, when I say cards, I'm talking about every child comes with a set. Every missing child comes with a set of prime suspects. And I make up my little card and I'm like, okay, this person was around this child, this person was around the child, this person. And then I start making these cards where I'm like, okay, these are the things that are red flag, red flag, red flag. And I got all my red flag cards. And then I start stacking them and I start doing this where I'm looking at it. And I'm like, wait a frickin' minute. Are you kidding me? So one of Chris's family, in my humble opinion, basically came at that steakhouse. Katie got in that vehicle. Somebody else took Katie's home and went to Katie and Chris's home, played her role so that she could be in two places at once via her phone. Because we all know if your phone is active, that's where you are, not. But hey, it's, you know, the Scooby-Doo thing to do. I was on the phone. Yeah, of course I was at my house. You saw my car pull in the driveway, right? And you saw lights on in my house, and my phone's working from my house. So how could I not be in my home? Well, could it be Chris's sister? Melissa? I don't know. However, I believe Katie hot-footed it out of there with Sebastian in that one change of clothes. I think she took him to Chris. And that's why Chris had to get back to that camper. And after that, she drove that car back to the Proud Bus because she has to get the car back to the original place, right? Pulls in the driveway without Sebastian. She then is given a ride back, all hypothetically, dropped off at the construction site with Sebastian's shoes, with Sebastian's clothes, and she ran to the darkened out house, came in through whatever door has no camera on it, retrieves her phone, hangs it up. Next day, that's why Mama Bauer is at the house. Everybody's car's in the right place, and somebody will have to give Mama Bauer socks a ride. Anne says they should have tested the scratches and bite marks if they were human or not. Any DNA on them. Thank you. Kimmy K says you should be a detective. Well, lovelies, I always pray that if we do break a case, that it would be communicated to the right people, because other creators are going to hear you guys talk about this theory. It's just a theory. I sounded like Sylvester. It's just a theory. You are a PI, Susie? Well, that's cool. I personally I have to get deep, deep, deep into the case. Sound like her and talk like her? Who? I don't know. You remind me of that talk show host, Delia. I don't know that one, Kimmy. Hey, Buck Cherry Lover, haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you, lovely. You say, love your insight of this, making my brain work overtime. Well, if we're going to find this kid, oh OMG, OMG, OMG. That would explain why there's no evidence of foul play. Because if she took him to Sebastian and Sebastian went somewhere with Mr. Chris and he removed him in the woods. And you know, I'm just going to tell you this right now. I had to buy a little pair of tool gloves today for my gardening. They give me the best grip ever. They're rubbery and they're really stretchy. They're men's gloves on the backside. They're nylon. They're heavy duty for, gripping a tool and turning it, but they fit like a glove. And I was like, oh, I feel like a ninja in these. Makes me wonder if that isn't what Chris had on his hands. So there was nothing. Mm-hmm. Janine says TBI isn't worth all the eggs in China, in my opinion. Delia is on 97.5 here. Her voice is like a female version of Morgan Freeman. Very calming. That's the best compliment I've ever had, tattooed mama. Literally, I adore Morgan Freeman. I can't imagine how my voice is calming, but because to me it's just my voice. Star Chaser says St. Jude's very close to the Mississippi River. Not many woods there. Well, I'm pretty sure it was out in nature. Is she still on the radio? Wow. I don't know. I never met her or heard of her. I'm going to look it up. You said 97.5 here. Where's here, you guys? Sassy. Now we have socks for the stinky butts. What a sick joke, these people. Can we just call them the sock beat? How about that? Let's call them the sock beat. The socks feet. And then we have the barefoot kid. I think, to me, until somebody can debunk my theory, I believe we're damn near right on. And I hope you're listening, Chris, because if I am right, I hope you poop stained your underwear just now, because the truth, I assure you, will come out. And if he's stored somewhere on your property, anywhere, there'll be other ways that karma will get you. Knoxville, Tennessee. Interesting, Debbie. Buck Cherry, she'd want you to be happy. Please remember that. What's going on with Buck Cherry? My mom passed in December, and I am not myself. I stay in my shell, but got on here tonight. Well, maybe you were guided to get on here. This is a very loving place, and maybe the way I look at it, because I've lost people too, nothing can make us feel better. And you may have heard this before, but really consider the fact that they were alive right now. What would your mom want you doing? She'd want to see you happy, because that makes her happy, right? So you just have to remember, try to get into a place where you realize life changes very rapidly sometimes, and we have such major adjustments in our life, and it's hard. But ultimately, we carry our loved ones with us in our heart. We truly do. Forget Me Not says she was on our station here too. Tattooed Mama says it's very smooth and calming. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Oh my gosh. Candace, you could be right. Candace says, I think he is in the cement floor at St. Jude's. Boom. Hey Jude said someone noticed that there's a cement blocks missing from the Stinkfoot's house by the side of the garage. Could be weighted, y'all. I mean, Tennessee Don't they got alligators? Whew, heavy night. Oh, Kimmy, you missed the theory? Well, I'll let you rewind, lovely. Lisa Platt says the truth always does. Those two don't seem too bright to pull off the perfect crime. No such thing. CP or KP will slip. Well, isn't it funny how KP? Let's dig in some stuff here. Mm-hmm. Let's just dig a little bit. Let's get into files, okay? Let me get this out of our way for a minute. There we go. Let's just get over here. Let's see. Missing children, missing kids. Let's scroll down our horribly long list. Find Sebastian. Let's get some clips. Let's see. Chris threatening the PI. Oh, yeah. We know what that's like. Katie LinkedIn works for Brinks. Let's see. Bed in the garage interview on Nancy Grace. No lights outside the home that night. Let's grab that one. Let's grab that. Throw that on there. We'll watch that one. Hey, we could get our no video. We'll watch that one when we close. Oh, I can't. Why? Let me copy it again. Copy. Paste. Oh, I already have it out. Never mind. Okay, hold on. Let's see where it was going to go down in history. Where is it? There it was. Shoot, I turned it just as I saw it, you guys. Now I'm at the bottom. There it is. Okay. We're going to watch that. Hold on. Let's do this first.
Or lights on the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights, but they're not motion censored.
Were they on that night?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Right there. Listen to what she says again. This is why I keep telling y'all there were no lights on in that house. On that house.
On the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights, but they're not motion censored.
Were they on that night?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Yes, ma'am. Were the lights out that night? I mean, she asked her 3 times. One more time. I want you to really listen because everybody keeps saying there were lights on. No, there weren't. Listen.
Or lights on the outside of your house?
Yes, we do have lights on the outside of our house.
Did they activate that night?
They're not motion censored. We have lights, but they're not motion censored.
Were they on that night?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were they on that night? So the lights were out the whole night?
Yes, ma'am. We don't typically turn the floodlights on.
Were there any lights outside the house on at all?
Just my little solar lights that we have in the garden.
I won't keep y'all on here all night, but I want to ask you, like, how did there's just a couple more. How come LE do you think hasn't publicly cleared you, like in the public cleared you, come out and said, hey, their parents are clear? Because I
They
know what you've
can't.
said, Chris.
Right, but
Why?
they can't.
Why?
Because the
Protocol.
investigation is still ongoing, because Sebastian is still missing, which is why they came out and clarified that no, we are not suspects, and yes, we are. Um,
If you're not guilty, the first thing that they would do, just like with Elizabeth Smart, is come out and say they're not guilty. Same thing with Brandy. I mean, Brandy Neal Monkey, Michael Monkey Vaughn's mom. I mean, that's what they're going to do. I mean, they're not going to, and others in the news. That's just who I think you're familiar with. But that's what they're going to do. They're not going to like just allow you to be sitting there hanging in the public's eye and take all this criticism and stuff.
and yet
So
they,
because there's so many agencies involved in this investigation,
I agree.
and I mean across the board. And you think of an alphabet, it's probably involved, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I have begged and begged and begged, and so has my wife. Seth, when he was at the house before, same thing. We all asked, why can't you come out and just say it? Y'all told us to our faces,
Mhm.
you know, it, and the response we get, because it's an ongoing investigation and protocol does not allow us to do that. That is the answer we're given.
Mhm. And I'm not saying you're telling a lie. I'm just wondering why, because I would be demanding. I really would be demanding. I'm just trying to think, I would do everything in my power to, and I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying again, my intro, one of my intros has it on there. I'm not saying, but you are suspicious, or this is suspicious, however I say it. And I mean that. I mean, things.
Hold on a minute, you guys. I got to restart it, but I can get it right back there. Un momento, por favor.
I mean that. I mean, things don't add up. Stuff don't add up. I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff, but I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be disrespectful either. I'm
No,
really
I
not.
mean so here's something that's very unique. And I mean, we talk about it whenever,
Well, what in the world? I'm going to play it again, y'all. Why?
playing devil's advocate. Let's say one of us was suspected of foul play. Let's say something, right?
Right.
There's no way that we would outdupe all these agencies. There's no way. However, this 15-year-old boy has managed to outdupe everybody. Call him Houdini. He always wanted to be a ninja, and we kept goofing around. Well, he has officially done it, because poof, nothing. And it's, the cops have told us this is a case that will go down as a researched study case where they're asking the questions and looking for answers, and literally nothing. Everything they try to come up with, blank.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking Out Loud says, dang, you cut the Nancy video short. Right after Katie says her garden lights, Chris chimes in with the 2 lights above the garage are always on. It doesn't matter what Chris says. He wasn't there. He says so himself. He wasn't there. He has no idea what lights are on. There's no security system for him to check and be like, oh yeah, my lights are on, so he wouldn't know. I'm going to go by the person that allegedly was there. Dana Lynn says he makes me sick, slapping his hands, calling Sebastian Houdini. Yeah, me too. No, I'm not up. I don't know what happened. YouTube freaked out. Yeah, you got to refresh. But yeah, I wanted to come on and just kind of walk through my theory and see what you guys thought. Rhonda Abrecht says, thinking out loud, but the Ring camera across the street shows that there was no lights on at the house that night. The only illumination came from a flashlight, it shows. Correct. There were no lights on. Yes, but she did not know they were. I'm not sure what that means, hon. Yes, I'm still live. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube. It's ridiculous. Hold on, let me get back on. I'll try to refresh. There we are. It'll still air good, so I just keep going, but I totally get it. Crystal says, very plausible in my opinion. No, Lisa, the live isn't done, honey. You have to click out of the video and back in. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why it's been doing this. Good night, Annette. Love you. Robin's opinion is, Chris, you are a liar, and you are lying for Katie. I can't stand his arrogance or his smacking of his hands, says Hey Jude. Annette says, I think she X'd out by mistake. Nope. We're still good. Patricia Parker says, I hate my initials or even like his nickname, PP. I'm sorry, Patricia. I love you, darling. Yep, you just have to refresh, you guys. And welcome back, everybody. I did not end. So we really have to look at this case and go, did we just solve the case? Is that what really happened? Because if that is, if that theory holds water, it would explain why there was no evidence. You feel me? I mean, what would be the evidence? Nothing at home and nothing in Katie's vehicle, nothing in Chris's vehicle. The only evidence would be the scratch. There would be, defensive marks on CP's arms, in my humble opinion, from the struggle he had. So how do you solve the case is the question. Because Sebastian would have been living and breathing, and it would absolutely allow Katie to be in two places at once. What do you guys feel? Crystal says there have to be plot holes. Figure it out. I don't know, lovely. Orange Wedge says, check the septic tanks. Damn. Ooh. Janine says, no. I say Sebastian was a ninja fighting Houdini. Was Chris. And Houdini made ninja disappear. Just my opinion. Allegedly. Give me a 1. This is going to sound horrible, but I just got to get it off my chest. And I want to know your thoughts. Give me a 1 if you feel that CP is your biggest suspect on hands-on Sebastian. Give me a 2 if you think the mother is the main suspect. Give me a 3 if you think the real father, Seth, would be your suspect. Give me a 4 if you suspect that he just ran away. 1 if you suspect CP. 2 KP. 3 SR. And 4 He left. Okay, so you can do a 1 and a 2. Darlene Wolf says, in my opinion, those are bite marks from Sebastian. Look at the 1s. Now, Diane Kelly does have a 2, as so does Joe Puglish. It's pretty divided. It's pretty divided. There are more 1s, and there are a lot of 1s and 2s, and there are 2s. And Rhonda's not sure. She's got a 5 out there, which I totally get. 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 2, 2, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Yep. CP for sure hated that kid, in my opinion, says kiss me. Oh, Kimmy, sorry. Diana Bond says 1 and 2. Lisa Platt says, how is Ellie not coming up with anything? Seems strange how they are building a case 2 and 1 covering up for her. Listen, y'all, if my theory is true, what evidence is there to bind? What would there be? There's no footage showing who was the driver that took Katie's car to her house. The phone could have been moving all over the place on Katie's end and her not even be in the house. It would explain why. Oh my God, what if, oh my golly jeepers. So let's say Katie was dropped off at that construction site around 3 o'clock in the morning. Would she have waited through that pool just to feel clean and get the scent off of her? I don't know. You feel me? I'm just saying. Evidence is essential, Kimmy. You're right. Kimmy K has 100% right. Evidence is essential. How in the heck are we going to get evidence? She had prints. Prints of what, Patricia Love? Phone pings. Where if she doesn't have her phone? If her phone literally followed from the restaurant, it was given to a family member of Chris's, allegedly, in this theory, and in Katie's car, driven right back to Katie's house, that phone is going to ping exactly where it should be. And if Chris was smart and he left his phone connected, sitting in that RP, right? And he didn't take any electronic devices with him, and he took Sebastian out in the woods and wore a pair of gloves, the only thing he'd have left on him of evidence, if he did a manual situation like Brian Laundrie, right, would be scratches and possibly bite marks. Just saying. Joanne Oblinger says, hey, everybody, new sub here. Well, thank you, lovely. Just joined, so excuse me if I say something that applies to earlier things. No problem. We welcome you, love. We welcome you. Baril says, when Ellie first went to Jack, the trash dump area, they had a probable cause. Think about it. Boom. Baril. Absolutely good point. Let me slow chat up a little bit. Carolyn Miller says Chris's DNA will be in Sebastian's mouth, his teeth, and his fingernails, in my opinion. And you know, Carolyn Miller, if we can find Sebastian, it'd be great to have him tested, right? Retired EMT, I think CP picked him up after the restaurant, and he dumped him somewhere else. You know, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Diana Bond, but CP won't allow the dogs to search the house or property. You guys are correct. Dana Lynn says, look how much we have learned about Cast from Idaho 4 and Brian L. case. Yeah, that the FBI won't release it. Sorry. I get, as Grizzly True Crime, I get snarky. Lisa Platt says it's frustrating that they have nothing. Ugh, Sebastian deserves to be found. I think they missed a heap too, Emily Vickery. I do too. Orange Wedge says maybe Sebastian was knocked out by the meds and CP began to strangle, and he woke, struggling to breathe, and fought like hell, in my opinion. Yep, that's why I feel too. Carolyn Miller points out that's why we need to look at the beach storage unit, in my opinion. Candace says, I think the thud is because of blunt force trauma in case body was found. In that case, my third theory is a pond or woods off of Happy Hollow Road near the home, since it has been a way to pull up. I just got to thinking something. Could that thud, OMG, again, OMG, OMG, listen. What if the thud is in case they do find Sebastian off in the woods? She can cop out and say it that, he fell, hit his head, and then she didn't know what to do and she panicked and he was already dead. And so Chris and her got rid of the body in panic. And that way, if they did get caught, it would be much lesser of a charge. However, what if that thud was only just a cover story in case he was found, but what really happened? And again, point out Brian Laundrie with Gabby Petito with the big rock that does the bashing. Keep in mind, Sebastian had a chromosome deletion. If Sebastian was heavily drugged and taken out that way, they'd have their butt covered if he ever got found. Or to pass a poly. Too Much Info says, I don't want to sound morbid, but there was a case where a guy, he was drunk and he fell asleep inside the garbage bin. He was homeless. Well, he didn't wake up and the garbage truck came. Good Lord. Do they have a freezer? Well, I'm sure that would have been checked, but you never know. You never know. Debbie Gazzardo says, look at the nonchalant attitude CP has when talking about the disappearance of Sebastian. Horrible. Absolutely. Carolyn Miller, it's horrible to think an adult could harm any child in any manner. I personally think Chris has tendencies toward children, and I consider profiling him a potential serial child. Yeah, you can read it. Ooh, Bubbly Bath, you missed a lot, lovely. I don't even know how to catch you up. I mean, every night that we meet, we're coming up with more and more of the scenario in a chronological order that isn't confusing us more, but actually taking the pieces and putting them together in a congealed thought as we work together, which is what we've got to do, right? Fallon says, not sure if there was an actual thud, maybe like DM in Moscow, Idaho case, frozen, shock, phase. Kathy still can get charged with I can't read that. Defying a corpse. What is it? Defiling a corpse. Is that how I say it, y'all? If it has turned out that way. True, but much lesser charge. Much, much less. Southern says, Mama D, I think you're onto something. Sebastian was failed so easily by the people who he loved the most. It's heartbreaking. It breaks my heart. I agree, Wanda Davis. Sebastian is not around Hendersonville. He is closer to Memphis, where CP is, in my opinion. Yep. With that controlling personality, if he is responsible for the child's demise, with that controlling personality, I believe he'll be within 15 miles of him so that he can do random checks. The hardest part is KP's timeline is off, in my opinion, says Joan Obliger. Orange Wedge says, another possible theory is that C told K, I will take him to some family who desperately wants a child and he will be fine, but instead just sold it. Oh, traffic, you guys. Ugh. Retired MT, welcome again, lovely. You say between this case and the one in Myrtle Beach, I just shake my head. So, you guys, like Dana Lynn is saying, I can't understand why the FBI hasn't stepped in to Tennessee. So they are, and the Secret Service is involved already in Sebastian's case. There is very specific criteria that have to happen for the FBI to take over. Now, Sumner County alleged that they already had the CPS reports that Seth, the real father, got his hands on. But when Seth, the real father, shared them with TBI, and you'd think as part of a investigation, you would really be looking at any CPS reports, let alone recent ones, right? Before the child goes missing. However, let's continue. Well, TBI said they did not have them. Why would Sumner County not have released absolutely all the evidence that they have on the Sebastian Rogers case to TBI? Welcome back, Jill. Welcome back. Too Much Info says he should be under surveillance for a long time. Darlene Wolf says, I think personally he was OD'd and he will be found in water, and I don't want to say the rest. I don't blame you, love. Kathy says, I think that CP will turn on KP and vice versa once Sebastian is found. So let's just walk this for a second. Let's say that this theory is right, and let's say they found Sebastian in the woods. If by that time the meds are his own that he would be OD'd on, I'm not 100% sure you would be able to get a toxicology with the amount of time that has passed on the exact levels that were in the kid's system at the time of death. I do not know. However, you would be able to see the bash mark of the big rock or whatever. And I would think at that point that it would have to be proven that the injury on Sebastian's head was actually not caused by something in the home, or they literally could get away with him even being found passed over. And like I said, just give the police the theory, which, yeah, they get minor charges of freaking out and getting rid of him. Someone is covering for them. They will pay the piper when they get caught. Diane, thank you so much, lovely. Mary Rogers says, I believe premeditated. I do too. Right, it does depend on the drug, Carolyn. It does, you're right. If they were to do a proper investigation, but Darlene, will they? Ooh, I'm not even going to read that, lovelies. I can't. Debbie Deming says, I think they feel they have him hidden so well, nobody will ever find him. I don't think, if this scenario is true, I will just say, I believe that there are varmints out there, if you feel me. Why not just let him live with his dad? Thank you, Jennifer Swain. I agree. There's a motive, and I think it's connected between the secrecy that Christopher Proudfoot brings up over and over again, between not allowing Sebastian around his daughter. Allegedly, he has said to Seth's mom, Sebastian's grandma, Robin, that Chris called Sebastian a pedo. Mm-hmm. Retired EMT. In my opinion, very methodical planned, and all they had to do was let Seth take him. Wow. Thinking Aloud says Terry Bowersox Jr. lives in another state and spoke with another creator. He said the entire family is crazy and he has been estranged for years. I want you to look at something. Hold on. Let me put that down. Let's go back into our files for a minute. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. See her? Mm-hmm. She looks like she could rule the roost, doesn't she? She's more manly than Chris is, in my humble opinion. Bubble Beth says, I just pray there's evidence that someone goes to jail. I've heard that too. He moved away to get away. Hey, Linda Annie, CP is too arrogant, in my opinion, to give Seth anything, let alone Sebastian. Boom. You got it. Yep, I agree with you. She doesn't look happy. Yep, that's Mama. Chris's Mama. Mm-hmm. Emily Vickers says, utterly disgusting how Ellie had CPS info since day one, but Seth didn't and could only get redacted versions. Someone is seriously protecting CP, in my opinion. I agree. Joan Oblinger says, I think we're afraid Sebastian knew too much. Oh, they were afraid that Sebastian knew too much and he would talk and tell someone. Thank you, Janine Simmons. She does look mean and very controlling like her son, in my opinion. I don't think the apple falls too far from that absolute crazy tree. I'm just saying, I think that family tree has got some stickers and briars like you wouldn't believe. Do you ever get the feeling like we're looking at Brian Laundrie, like if he was to be older and hopped up on like Hostess Twinkies? Oh. Brian Laundrie at Hostess Twinkies is Chris. A lot of people are agreeing. A lot of people agree. Crazy Tree Bow Show. Linda Annie. Yeah, Mama, yeah. You guys are incredible. Well, I don't know. I told you guys I had a crazy, crazy theory to share with you guys, but it really doesn't feel so crazy when we look at it. I mean, let's go over it one more time. I know somebody's going to be like, why'd you have to repeat it like 4 times? Well, new people come in, and some people didn't catch the front and all that. Is a PU. I can't with this proud butt bear. Diana. Chris is a bully, in my opinion. I agree with you, Jilly Lane. All right, let's do this. All right, so let's walk it back. So we have the ultimatum on the table, him or me. We know that theory, okay? That allegation, whatever. All right, so he has his going away party for the day. Everything's perfect between Mama and son that day. She even says he had a really, really good day. All right, I got a puppy dreaming and yelping. Okay. After the restaurant, I believe that there was a relative that had a car that looked just like Katie's. And don't call me crazy because there are two of them. We seen them. Too many of us saw they have the same car. Anyway, I believe that that family member switched cars with Katie so that Katie's car would have the exact mileage on it should. I believe Katie gave her phone to that person so that she would GPS track all the way back to her house, even though she is not going that direction. She has no phone on her, no electronics. She is smart as hell. She installs security systems for the Navy. She's a very smart lady on any type of tracking stuff. All right. So at this point, she makes sure she has nothing tracking her and she's in a different car. So even if they check her car GPS, her mileage, anything, it will check out perfectly directly to her house because that is a decoy with Katie's phone. The decoy is in Katie's car and arrives at Katie's house, which is absolutely blacked out. The lights are shown so that neighbors see that there's movement in the house, silhouettes, so forth. Even in Sebastian's room, lights are going to go on and off because the decoy is going to make sure and do that. The decoy is also going to be on the phone with Chris Proudfoot, who is not there. So it takes Katie to get there from the restaurant approximately 3.5 hours. If she leaves at approximately 6:30, she arrives over by the RB. And I believe, or wherever they meet, Sebastian then switches and goes with Mr. Pissy Pants. And Katie now returns with that car to where it came from, which is, in my humble opinion, Chris's family's home. Okay? Then somebody in Chris's family gives Katie a ride. Katie now has his shoes and his change of clothes with her, and she gets out of the vehicle and she gets dropped off at the construction site, and that's why the dogs track that scent. And she runs with Sebastian's change of clothes, right? The clothes he had on at the restaurant, and his tennis shoes, so that she can make it seem like not only was the decoy that she was home, but also the kid was with her. See, his shoes are by the front door where he always puts them. Here are the clothes he had on. Boom. Gotcha. All right. That's why we see the lights. That's why the dogs track to the pond and so forth. And it's also why, in my humble opinion, it would be Chris's mom, because she was there in the morning when the cops are there. Seth told us when he got there, the mom was already there. All right. Now, I believe if we back up in time, as soon as Katie left, Chris took Sebastian out in the woods, and boom, that's it. Stored him somewhere, got in that crane, 5:30, at 1 o'clock, he shows up at the house, and I think that's when he told everybody, hey, I've got to deal with my RB. I absolutely have. My boss told me, get that RB out of there. I'm sorry I can't stay to help. I'm sorry my son's missing. I can't do anything. I got to leave. And he's gone the whole damn day from 1 o'clock on. I believe that is when he takes and disposes of this situation into a place where it was either sink it, and I think he sunk him. Maybe that's why there are allegedly some bricks missing or cinder blocks, whatever, in an area where there are varmints. And now he returns back, and it's a done deal. Somewhere thick with briars, says Dana Lynn. Jeannie Saran says, my only single issue with the theory is that it's a lot of people to keep a secret. Okay. You don't think Nina can tell you that the Bauer Sox kept secrets? Because that's all we're talking about. There's nobody else. Chris and Katie and the mom. 3 people. You don't think Chris's mom's got his back? I think that would work just fine. But I respect you. I respect you. Retired EMT 100% agree. 100. Wonder who will spill the beans first. Orange Wedge, maybe he told Sebastian that the 2 of them were going hunting. Not sure. Debbie Dimming says, honestly, I feel if SR is found, KP and CP will unalive themselves so they don't have to face jail time. Wow. I think a female will snap, says Emily. Linda Annie says, are there any pig farms in the area? Because pigs will devour even bones. Dana Lynn says, money talks, bullshit walks. I don't know, you guys. I don't even want to sleep on this theory. It makes me sick. I hate it when my theory starts coming together and it starts fitting too well. Bosmaka, hello, lovely. You say, I don't think Sebastian ran away. But I did see on the news today that 11 runaway kids were recovered in Tennessee. Well, thank gosh. Bubble Bath says, yep, she could have given him sleep meds on his way to Chris. Think it out loud. Good to see you. Says, Katie wasn't in the picture yet. Base stayed with Kathy P. Oh, I see what you're saying. Jonah agrees with my theory. Patricia Parker, how did he get Crane out there and back to site without being late? Why would you be late? Katie's the one driving this child. Okay, let's walk it, Patricia. Let's say because you might be right. Let's play this out. All right, so we leave the restaurant at 6:39. That's the time that it was mentioned. All right, 6:39. We're going to make it there. Oh, how perfect the timing really is, because we're on the phone between 9 and midnight-ish, a little after 9 and midnight-ish. Well, that would be when Katie would be arriving in Memphis at that RB, at the wherever that area is where CP had his camper. 3.5 hours. So 6:30, it'd take him about 10:30. Now Katie's got to get back to her place. She's got a 3-hour drive, so she's going to leave him at around 9-ish. And she's going to take back to the house, and she's going to make it there right about a little after midnight when she hangs up that phone, right? There's her exact time. Right there. And if you look at the other way, Chris doesn't have to be in that thing till 5:30 in the morning. The next morning on Monday. He's got all damn day and all damn night to do what he pleases. There's absolutely no time crunch. Whatever. None. Lisa Platt, to hear what John Walsh has to say. That would be interesting. Candace, wow. Joan, yep. 6:39 p.m. It's February. It's really dark. Very dark, says Dana Lynn. Tatina Pavel says she was. Nina said she was amazed how quick he moved on. Trinity Reader, Blue Pill, hi-ho, Curate the Brog here. What if they switch vehicles at the steakhouse? That's what I'm saying, lovely. Lisa Lynn, do you think that Seth thinks or knows that KP and PP did something but can't say it to the public? Do I think that? Yeah, because of his statement. Jennifer Swain says that Katie hasn't even told the same story twice. She never mentioned the first time. How is she studying, talking to Chris, and sleeping at the same time? Great question. Crystal Clear has even more of a question, y'all. If work doesn't start till 7, why is Chris up in the crane at 5:30? Yep, another person, Bubble Beth. 7 a.m. he's supposed to start work, but he went to work early that day at 5:15 a.m. It wasn't a full moon. Let's check and see what it was. Let's go find out what the moon was. I do not believe it was a full moon. Let's go back to the thumbnail for a minute. Let me get the Google up for us. Yeah, open like 4 Googles. All right. Here we go. Let's see what we had. Moon phase. February 25th, because that would be the night, right? 2024. A waning moon. Almost gone. Oh, no, wait. When was the full moon? Oh, you're right. The full moon was the day before. That's horrifying. I will just tell you that much. That is absolutely horrifying. I agree, Jill and Elaine. I don't believe a dang thing CP says. In fact, everything he says, I reverse it. That's how I figured out that he most likely, Sebastian, most likely went missing between 6 to 9 p.m. I'm sorry, 6 to midnight. And the reason I figured that out is because Chris said he went missing from midnight to 6 a.m. And I'm like, nope, it's the reverse of Chris said that. And that's what I actually believe. And that's why I think the theory, I mean, think about it. Chris had marks on his arm. Should we go look at his marks? Let's go look at his marks on his arm. Let's do that. Let me get it like this. Whoops. Here we go. It's going to take a minute to get it in frame. Shoot, it's hard to do. Let me get it in frame first. Okay. I'm going to blow it up absolutely monstrous here. If I can get it to work. All right. There we go. Nope, I can't do it. Somehow it won't let me. If I try. All right, let me see how I can do it. I know how I can do it. Hold on. Let me save the picture, and I'll... No, that won't work either. Hold on. I want to get the biggest picture of his arms. I want you to take a good look at it. I'm going to crop the picture. You can see it's Chris, so you don't have to see his old big old four-leaf black clover lucky life, right? Yeah, live lucky. All right, let's try to get it as large as possible. You see this? I told you those look like fingernail marks and teeth marks, in my humble opinion. Candace says your timeline. Hold on, I need a drink. Candace says, your timeline is on point along with your theory. Chris might have been driving his mom's SUV also, which has been part of my theory and a few others. Could be bite marks. Could be nail marks. What do you think it is? Look at this arm. I'm making it big. I want you to really look at it. Look at that, you guys. No dogs did that. There are marks there from fingernails. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said to you guys, and you can go back and watch the video, and this was literally weeks and weeks ago when we reviewed this picture. I said, if you think about it, if somebody got their hands up around your throat, your hands are going to go on their forearms, and if you're trying to get their hands off your neck, you're going to dig those nails in, and you're going to try to pull their hands off your neck. Think it was eclipsed? Those are deep. And how deep were they? Why did it take them like 8 days to do their first interview? Was it 8 days? I can't remember. It was something like that. Let's look at the other arm. Because, why? What's this? Why is that on both arms in the same place? Well, if your hands are around some child's neck and they have nails, guess what? Look at that. Lisa Platt says, do you think Ellie noticed those marks? I send it to them. They could use that to interrogate him. I think I need to get this literally put together in like a professional manner to walk the timeline through with some mapping and stuff like that with these pictures and just be like, here, TBI, here's my findings. Was this 8 days of healing and we're still here? We're still this bad after a week and 1 day? He did have gaps between his teeth, but not this big. Those are bad. No dog did that, says Lisa. I don't believe a dog did this at all. I believe my theory's right. I think Katie left that smokehouse, or not smokehouse, roadhouse. And I believe these are defensive wounds from the demise of the child, in my humble opinion. That's what I believe, and I'm entitled to believe what I want. Those are ninja marks on Houdini, says Jeannie. Whoa, those arms, says FSUMSW. Whew. Interior family, Mr. F says some of Sebastian's teeth are baby teeth from what I have noticed. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that too. Bubble Beth says Justin has good pictures and his hands. Darlene Wolf says he gives answers to questions in literal sense. He may not own his own funeral home, but he may know other family members who do. Cassie Christensen says, no way, I have a little dog. There is no way that could happen. So either teeth marks, bite marks, I believe that Katie did that, and I believe that there was a decoy. And the reason I think it is Ma is I think it's Chris's mama. I think Chris's mama was there when, like I said, Seth said she was there already in the morning, early in the morning. I think Chris's mom played the decoy. Tina Edwards says those are no dog bites. Those are fingernail marks. The one looks like the teeth marks to me. I agree. I think it could be both. I think there's teeth marks here. I think these are fingernail marks. They're too straight in a line. These are more curved. I feel like this is a bite mark. His cousin owns a funeral home, according to Bubbly Beth. Dan Kelly, no one waits that long to turn something like this in unless they have done it. Why wouldn't he wear long sleeves? Too cocky? I don't think he thought anybody would buy that story. Diane Roach moved to CP trailer to draw attention away from the home and keep Katie close, keep control of the situation. She's right next to him. Can't slip anything. Maybe notice the answers and questions, not her. Right, Diane. Linda Annie, if his cousin owns a funeral home, maybe he was cremated. Boom! I've always said Summer, in my opinion, was cremated. And I think those ashes are in those little necklaces that all of them wore. And I think they spread her ashes on their Utah trip. Summer Moon, Utah, Wells. No dogs, says that, especially since they are tiny dogs, Darling Wolf. Right? Bubba Best Sunday, he had all day to pick a spot and dig a hole. All he had to do is fill it and leave. Sassy says having access to a funeral home to dispose of the evidence would definitely give him enough reason to be cocky. Well, you guys, I'm about to get off here because my eyeballs are floating, and if you don't know what that means, I've had to tinkle for about 40 minutes. So, I know it's not the best thing to end on, but I feel bad for Seth. I just feel super bad for Seth. And guess what? If this theory is true, then we know exactly who is stalking and terrorizing the searchers. Because they damn sure don't want this beautiful child found. I love you all. I truly do. I pray for Sebastian. I pray I'm wrong. I pray from the bottomest part of my heart, the biggest part of my heart. I pray I'm wrong. But I had to bring you my theory. Hey, Kathy, new to your channel. Just love your analysis. KHAGN. Have a good night. Oh, I learned a new one. Thank you, Kathy, and welcome, lovely. Brings my heart burst sobs. I agree. All right, my lovelies. Say some prayers for our beautiful Sebastian. Look, the divine left us with the beautiful candles and this beautiful face. With that, I will see you again soon. I love you. To the moon and back. Thank you all so humbly much for supporting me in being the voice, and you being the voice for those that don't have a voice.